Hey fam, happy Sunday. Hope you had a good weekend. Thought I'd come on here and do my review of the Avengers End Game movie with spoilers. Yes, y'all, I'm about to say it all here. So if you have not seen the movie, this video is probably not for you. You want to watch my other one that I did with no spoilers, okay? It's already available. All right, so this movie begins with Barton, Hawkeye. So he is on his land with his house, the farm, and him and his family are having a picnic, and his wife is over at the table, two sons throwing around the football, and he is teaching his daughter how to shoot the arrow. Okay, so wife calls them over, time to eat, and he turns to tell her, just a sec, and then he turns to his daughter to continue teaching her, and she's gone, like she's out of nowhere. She's just gone. So he's looking around for her, and then it looks like he's going to ask the wife, have you seen her or whatever, and she's gone, and his sons are gone. So basically, where the last movie left off, when everyone disappeared, his family was part of the people that disappeared. So all in one moment, he lost everybody, and he's devastated. Okay, from there, we go to Tony Stark, and he's lost in space, basically, with Nebula, and he is making a video for Pepper, and he's basically apologizing to her for failing and telling her he loves her. He's saying his goodbyes because tomorrow morning all the air is going to run out. Now, mind you, Tony is sick. Well, he is thin. There's not a lot of food up there. He looks gaunt, and he's just not well, okay? So he falls asleep, and then he wakes up, basically, and he sees this big light coming towards the ship. And lo and behold, it's Captain Marvel, y'all. She has shown up to save Tony. All right, so she takes the entire ship down to Earth, back to the rest of the surviving Avengers. And when he gets there, they're basically telling him everything that happened, with Thanos snapping the fingers, wiping out 50% of the people on the planet. And he is pissed, y'all. He's highly pissed. He's so mad. Now, mind you, he's hooked to an IV. Like, that's how weak he is. They have to get some sustenance into his body. But he goes off on Captain America, basically saying how he failed, blah, blah, blah. And he is lashing at him so hard. You see on Captain America's face, he's taken all of this. And it literally looks like Tony's words are cutting into his soul. Like, it's a bad moment. So anyway, the Avengers explained to Tony that they've been looking for Thanos ever since this happened. And Nebula immediately steps up, and she's like, I know where my dad's at. She's like, ever since we were little, when he explained his plan of wanting to wipe out 50% of the population, we asked him, what would you do after that? And he always gave the same answer. He would go to the garden. And so basically the next scene they're showing is Thanos in the garden. It's a big garden area, and he has like a wooden house there. It looks kind of like a shack to me. Honestly, it made me think of Shrek and his shack in that movie. But anyway, let me see. So, Barton, Black Widow, Thor, Banner / Hulk, Captain Marvel, Captain America, Nebula, and Rocket Raccoon all pull up on Thanos. And when I say they pulled up on his ass, they did. Immediately, like all at once. Everyone's shooting into that little shack thing that Thanos is living in. Captain Marvel puts him in a chokehold. Everyone's got his arms. They're all holding him. He had not a moment to respond, reflex, nothing. He's just got. All right, so Tony, Iron Man, who's in his costume, his uniform, he's like, where are the stones at? We want the stones. They're trying to reverse what he's done. And he tells them that he destroyed them, basically. As soon as I did it, I destroyed them all. That way there was no going back. So he's sort of trying... Oh, and one thing you notice here, Thanos, all down the side of his face and his arm, on the hand that he wore the glove, with the stones, it's like burnt up. Like when he did that snapping of the fingers, that motion damaged him. Like it hurt his body. And I didn't notice that in the last one. I don't know if they showed it, but I definitely didn't notice it. But anyway, he start trying to talk some crap to them, and Thor is not having it. Like, he's done. So he takes his big axe, and he cuts Thanos' head off. Like, it's gone. That's the end. All right, so basically the Avengers are sort of at a halt here. They don't know what to do because they realize they can't do anything. What's done is done. And now the stones have been destroyed. There's nothing they can do. So they all kind of disperse, go back to their lives where they live. And the next thing we see here, it flashes to flashes to 5 years later, okay? And 5 years later, we see Ant-Man, and basically he returns. He's flashed out of whatever dimension, universe that he was in, and he comes back. And it's crazy because if you remember at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, he had gone into this dimension, and he had his girl's dad, his girl's mom. They were all the ones that put him into the dimension that he went into, and they all disappeared when Thanos snapped his finger. So he was stuck in there, okay? And he was stuck in there for 5 years, y'all. But to him, snapping back out of it, he's only been gone for like 5 seconds. So he has no idea what happened. So basically, he's walking down the street, and they did a really good job at showing exactly how devastation has taken over Earth, the planet, America, specifically where he's at. He's walking down the streets, empty cars on the road. It's dirty. I mean, it hit hard. It hit everybody hard. It's so bad that at one point they show Captain America is in a meeting, and it looks like one of those AA meetings, like for alcoholics. But the people are there talking about their hurt after their loss. Everybody lost somebody or many, you know what I mean? And their depression and devastation has taken hold of them, and they're literally going to classes trying to learn how to move on. It's sad. So anyway, next thing you see is Ant-Man, and he's walking up to this park where he notices like all these huge cement slabs, some marble, I guess, like for the soldiers who have died in war. You know how they bring those walls around with their names on them. So he's like starting to see what's going on here, and he's going around these walls looking for his daughter's name, and he's starting to freak out. So he ends up taking off running towards his ex-wife's house, and he's scared, fear. I don't know if she's alive. Oh my gosh. So he's running, and he gets there, and his daughter answers the door, and she's like grown. It's like 5 years later. So she's like tall teenager, and they hug each other. They're so happy to see each other. Neither one of them knew if the other one was dead or alive, and it's a really good moment for them, okay? So with that, Ant-Man is happy. He realizes that his daughter is here, even his ex-wife. He's very happy, but he also realizes everybody else is not. They lost what was important to them. And he starts thinking, where he just came from, what he went through. I was in that different dimension. I wasn't hurt by this. To them, it was 5 years. To me, it was 5 seconds. So he comes up with a plan, a time travel plan, basically. And he takes that plan to Black Widow and Captain America. So he goes to the Avengers house, I guess, where they all meet, basically, and explains to them what he wants to do. And Barton is there with them, Hawkeye. And let me just say that Hawkeye has become a mercenary killer. It was reported to Black Widow, and she was aware of it, and she went and grabbed him, trying to get him. When he lost everything, he was so hurt, he dove face first into murder. That's what he went to, okay? So he's there. They're all three of them together, and he explains his plan, and they're trying to understand it, but they think that they need to take it to Tony, who can put it all into action, basically, because, as we know, he's a genius. Okay, so they end up going to Tony's house, and Tony lives in this big house in like a forest. It's like secluded, but a forest. It's not like some high-class, shanky kind of, high-class, bougie kind of place we might expect Tony to live in. Anyway, he's there, and he's playing with this little girl. Tony's got a daughter, you guys, like 4 or 5 years old. Pretty little girl. He's playing with her. He ends up, telling her to go in the house, and they all are, hello, oh my gosh, you have a daughter. And they end up giving the plan to him, and Tony is like, absolutely not. No, there's no way. Basically, he's stating that I have a daughter. Me and Pepper are together. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. I am not going to jeopardize that. It's like they can understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, while you're so happy with what you have, millions out here are not. Millions out here are crippled with their sadness, with their hurts over the loss. So basically, you then see the three of them go looking for Hulk. And when they get to him, it's crazy because literally like Hulk and Banner have become one. They figured each other out, understand each other, and they're cool with it. So basically what you see is Hulk, you know, big, strong green man. He's wearing a shirt, y'all. But his face is Banner's. David Banner. David Banner. Wow. Anyway, it's Banner's. And he's got the Banner face, and he's actually wearing glasses. And he's like his genius speaking self. And he's so comfortable with who he is now. Heck, they show him taking selfies with some kids, y'all. It's like, wow. Hulk is grown, really grown. Anyway, they give the idea to him and tell him what they would like to do. And basically he's saying, wow, this is not my area of expertise. What about Tony? And they said, well, he said no. So he's thinking, and he's like, I don't know if I can pull this off, but I'm willing to give it a try, basically. So what they do is they set up, you know, all that's needed to try this, and they're doing experiment. They're going to try to send Ant-Man to different time zones and to see how they're testing it, trying to figure out what to do. So you then see, and the process is supposed to go, they send him, boom, he's back. They send him, boom, it's back. So the first one, they send him, and he comes back as like a teenager. And then they send him again, and then he's like a freaking 90-year-old man. And then he comes back, and he goes, and then he comes back again, and this time he's like a 1-year-old in a diaper. It's crazy. Like, it's not working out at all the way they planned on. And Captain America sees this, and he's a little frustrated, so he goes outside to get some air. And now, unbeknownst to them, after they left, Tony did try to come up with an idea, you know, a time travel. He tried to put it into play, and he was successful in figuring out how to do it. Of course, Tony is. He's a genius. And I want to say one thing. While he was doing this plan, his daughter walked in. He ended up putting her to bed, basically. But one thing that he said to her, it was just a sweet little moment between them. He's like, how much do you love me? Because she's telling him, I love you, Dad. He's like, how much? She says, times 3,000. It's real sweet because he told her mom. She only loves you like 500, 600, whatever. Anyway, so Captain America is outside getting some air, and you see Tony's car pull up, and he gets out, and he's like, I figured it out. And he's like, what? And he's like, time travel. I know how to do it. Captain America's kind of like, oh my God, thank you, because he doesn't say it, but who the hell knows what would have happened to Ant-Man during this whole test procedure with Hulk, okay? So Tony actually has Captain America's shield, and he gives it to him. Okay, so basically they all get together, and they realize they need to get Thor in on this because Thor is not there. So they go searching for him, and they find him, and it is crazy, y'all. Thor got fat. I mean fat, y'all. Like he went through so much travesty and devastation that he said, fuck it. He threw the towel in. He got a big old bear belly. And when they enter his house, it's like stinky and dirty. And he's there with two crazy looking creatures. And they're all chilling, eating, drinking, playing video games. Like Thor became a couch potato. It's freaky. And honestly, he didn't want to help. Like Thor wanted to wash his hands of everything he's done. But Rocket Raccoon was able to step in and talk him into it. Okay, so they're all on the same page. We got all the living Avengers working together, about to go through time. And they're going to do this with Tony's time, I don't want to say machine, because it's not a machine. It's like a system. I don't know. And and it's complete with the GPS, this time machine thing he's got going on. And they're doing that with Ant-Man's Pym shrinking particles, basically. And they want to go back in time to before Thanos actually snapped his fingers and caused 50% of the people to not be there any longer. All right, so when they do go back there in separate groups, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and the Hulk are all together. And when they go back, they're literally in the major battle scene of the original Avengers movie. If you've seen that one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And when they get there, you can see, okay, so their old selves are there fighting in the battle, but their new selves have, you know, they're just standing there watching, freaked out, watching this take place. And Hulk is watching his old self, and you know Hulk is doing his thing. He's slamming, he's smashing. That's what Hulk used to do. And this new Banner / Hulk is like cringing, like, oh my gosh, that is so not me anymore. And they even tell him, you know, you have to blend in, so do what Hulk's doing, basically. And you see him trying to do a couple things. He's really not into it because that's not him. It's funny, basically. All right, so from there, we see, now we're panning over to Hawkeye and Black Widow. And they end up where Thanos took his daughter, Gamora, to sacrifice her for the stone. You know, with that red skull-faced guy, basically the one from Captain America. I can't remember if it's 1 or 2. But that guy, he's there. All right, from there, they're switching over now to War Machine, which is that character that's played by Don Cheadle. And he's there with Nebula. And they're teamed up, so they're going to look for a stone. And basically what you see with them is that Nebula is their downfall. She has serious daddy issues, and we'll get into that a little more later. Okay, then we have Iron Man, Captain America group. They end up running into the Hydra group scene on the elevator. If you remember the Hydra group, those are the ones that betrayed Captain America, okay? So it's supposed to be this huge fight scene that takes place in this elevator, and Captain America is in there with them, and he's asking for the suitcase that has the stone that he needs. And the guys look at him like, hell no, like he's not giving that stone up. And you can tell everyone is looking at each other like they're all about to attack Captain America. And Captain America remembers this, and he's thinking, and he leans over and whispers into one of their ears, "Hell Hydra," basically in his ear, letting him know, I know what you guys are up to, and I'm in on it. I'm down with y'all, basically. And so they hand him the suitcase. So that's literally how he got that stone. They end up facing some more fighting in this moment. Some crazy mess pops off. And then what we end up seeing in that fighting is the old Captain America that was fighting them during that time. And he sees the new Captain America, and there's like a freak out moment for a second, and they end up fighting each other. Oh, but hold on, before we get to the fighting between those two, Tony had seen the old Captain America, and he walked by, and Tony tells the new Captain America, that old suit did nothing for your ass. And I'm like, why is Tony Stark looking at Captain America's ass? I don't know, but it's funny, okay? So anyway, the two Captain Americas end up fighting it out, and of course the newer one ends up winning, and he knocks the old Captain America completely out. He's laying face down on the ground, and Captain America's about to walk off, and he turns around and looks, and he's like, that suit really didn't do anything for my ass. And he's like, that is America's ass though, and he walks off. It was funny. You had to see it. Okay, so from there, now we're basically panning back to Black Widow and Hawkeye. And just as Thanos had to sacrifice a loved one for the stone, Hawkeye and Black Widow are given the same offer, basically. Somebody has to die. And the catch here is, whoever dies will not come back. It's the end of you. Even if Thanos snaps his fingers, no matter what, one of y'all have to go here. And you literally see a deep moment in this movie. These two are fighting each other because they want to be the sacrifice. They want to be the one to volunteer to die, to save everybody. And they're fighting each other for it. And they're seriously fighting each other for it. But you see, they have a lot of love and compassion for each other. And Black Widow ended up winning, and she jumped off the cliff, and she died. And it hurt. Like, if you've been watching these movies from the beginning, 11 freaking years, my boys were little young when this started. They're grown now, and you become emotionally attached to these characters. And I definitely have. And I didn't realize how much until this movie happened. I'm like, I cried. It sucks, y'all. So Black Widow doesn't make it, and Hawkeye gets the stone. Okay, from there, we see Nebula's past self. So her past self has somehow, oh, I know, it's a playback thing. But anyway, she sees the future Nebula there with War Machine, and she's peeping what they're doing. And she tells Thanos what they're doing, okay? So not only are they tasked with trying to get these stones and to figure out how to save the people they lost, but now they got Thanos coming after them again. Freaking Nebula. Okay. Her problem is that her entire life, all she's ever wanted was her father's approval. That's all she's ever wanted. Now, when she was younger, it was worse. Now that she's older, she's really like, kiss my ass, but it is what it is. Okay, so from there, we see Thor you know what? Never mind, not that part. Okay, so Hulk basically has to get Doctor Strange's stone from the Ancient One. If you remember watching Doctor Strange, the Ancient One is that woman with the bald head, basically who introduced him to his powers and abilities. But the crazy thing is, when he gets there and talks to her, he's asking her about Strange, and she's like, he's like 5 miles that way at the hospital getting surgery. Basically, at that point, while he's there, Doctor Strange does not know his powers or abilities. He hasn't been introduced to it. He's a regular working man, doctor here on Earth. That's who he is. So Hulk is asking for the stone, and she's like, no, if I give you that stone, you're going to screw up what we have going on here. And it becomes sort of almost a fight that takes place because Hulk tries to go after her, but in one swift move, she hits him in the chest, and it literally separates Hulk from Banner. Okay, so it's crazy. And he's telling her, I really need this stone, la la la. And she is not listening to him until he literally says that Dr. Strange gave him this stone before. And as soon as he says that, she's putting the Hulk and Banner back together, and she's opening her thing and giving him the stone. And he is promising that as soon as they are done using it, he will return it, okay? So he has that stone. Okay, so once they all return with the stones, they're back at the house, you know, where they originally were at. And there's a little argument about who's going to put the glove on. Tony wants to do it, whatever. Hulk is telling him, don't you remember, didn't you see the damage this glove did to Thanos? And he's like, and Thanos is freaking huge compared to all them. And he's like, I was born for this. And he's absolutely right. He is. He's the biggest one of them all. So he puts the glove on, and you see a little bit of damage happening to him. You know, he is somewhat hurt from it, but he snaps his fingers, and it immediately works. And the way we know that it works is because Hawkeye's cell phone, which is like on the counter, starts ringing, and he looks over, and it's his wife's picture that's shown up on the screen. His wife is alive, like everyone's back. It's wonderful. But this moment is so short-lived, y'all, because literally within seconds, they're fired on by Thanos' ship, and Nebula is the one driving it. So she's the one, her old self, and the entire ship and her father have followed them here to this time and shot down this house. And when they did it, the house went down so bad, like they were underneath the house. I thought some of them died, but apparently they all made it out. So we see then Thanos had already exited the ship, and he's sitting in the field next to the house chilling. He basically told his daughter, go give me the stones. Okay, she did. So what we then see is everyone trying to get out of this rubble, you know, trying to get on their feet basically. And Captain America had to go quite a ways out from under all this rubble. And when he comes out, he's like not too far from where Thanos is at, and they're looking at each other. And Thanos is telling him, I'm getting that stone, you know, but you guys don't get to keep this like it is. And at that point, you see Thanos' his entire army has showed up, and everybody's there. I mean, even the past villains of his from the other movie that died, they all came back because Snap the Finger brought everyone good and bad back. So his entire army shows up, and they're huge, massive. Planes, ships, I should say, showing up with everyone. It's insane. And you see Captain America slowly standing up, cleaning the dirt off him, but he's like by himself. This entire freaking army is there. And the next thing you hear is someone saying, Captain America, do you read me? It's something to that extent, basically. And I have goosebumps and my hair standing up at this point because I can hear the voice. It's to tell y'all, he's alive. I'm here for it. Okay, we knew our Black Panther people had to come back, and they did. So at this point, all those orange fiery circles start showing up in the sky behind, or in the air basically, behind Captain America. The ones that bring people from different universes, dimensions, they're all showing up. And all of our Avengers are there, front and center. Everyone showed up, and of course all our ships are showing up. So now Thanos ain't looking so big and bad, okay? So from here, and there is a moment when Tony Parker gets to see Peter Parker. Tony Stark gets to see Peter Parker because you know he was hurt when Peter died. So they had that moment, they get a hug, and immediately Captain America basically says, Avengers assemble. And that's his thing, basically. It's time to wartime. Okay, so this huge, phenomenal war takes out. I mean, there's so much going on here I could never put into words what's happening, but it's amazing, okay? There's even this one all-female kick-ass moment where somebody was coming at one of the girls and all the other girls show up there, and it's like all of them along with Captain Marvel. It's a serious girls ass-kicking moment, like that Charlie's Angel moment, you know? Anyway, it was just good. So then we see Thanos somehow managed to get himself on the glove. He managed to get his hands on the glove. And he's trying to put it on. And we see Hulk fighting him. We see Captain Marvel fighting him. And Captain Marvel is freaking strong, y'all. Like, she's amazingly strong. Like, she's not even in this movie a lot. Let me say that. This movie focused on all of the original Avengers for the majority of the time. And rightfully so. Okay, so she's fighting Thanos and she's holding her own. Like, she almost got that damn glove. She almost got it off him. But anyway, he has the glove on his hand. He just hasn't had a chance to snap his fingers yet. So at that point, we see Tony run over and grab. And I thought he took the entire glove. And I was like, thank God, don't let him snap his fingers again. Well, Thanos reaches up and he snaps his finger anyway, but nothing happens. And he turns the glove around and all the jewels are gone. When Tony ran over, he took all the jewels off. He's not stupid. He knows how trying to get this glove off this fool happened last time. So he now is standing there and he has the glove with all the jewels on his hands. And Thanos is like, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. I'm Thanos. He's talking his shit. And Tony's like, and I'm Tony Stark, Iron Man. And he snaps his fingers. And when he does, you can see the damage, the burn go all the way up Tony's side, and you see Tony like sit down. Like, this war has still been going on basically, but it's stopping when he snapped his fingers. And you see Tony, Peter Parker run over because Tony, that glove and that action was not built for a regular human man to do. We already saw what it did to Thanos and Hulk. Tony didn't stand a chance, y'all. He's dying. So he's laying there, and Peter comes over and he's freaking out, but he's saying, I love you, and blah, 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 and he's saying his goodbyes. And Pepper comes over, and that was not a very good acting moment for Peter Parker, by the way, but it was short, okay? So Pepper shows up, and of course she did her thing, because we all know Gwyneth can act her ass off. But basically he says his goodbyes to her, and this is another time I cried, y'all. Iron Man dies. The one where it started all of it with 11 years ago, he died. And that shit hurt, okay? So from there, we see they have his funeral. They have a funeral. All the Avengers are there. Old, new, everybody's there. And he left a recording for his wife and for everyone, basically. But in the recording, what really got me and started them tears up even harder was when he told his daughter, I love you times 3,000, basically. It was really sweet and painful freaking moment. And then after that, of course, it was promised that all these stones would be returned to where they were, and they kept their word. So basically you see them gathering, and they're trying to figure out who's going back to do this, and Captain America volunteers. And so they're about to send him, and the process is literally supposed to be like a 10-second process. So send him, boom, he's back. So they sent him, and that 10 seconds comes and goes, and it's like the motion's there, but no one's showing up. And they're all looking at each other like, what the heck's going on? And that black guy, I want to call him Black Hawk. I think that's his name. The one that was originally with Captain America. You know, the black guy who just wears the wings. He looks over, and he sees this guy sitting on a bench kind of close to them. So he walks over, and he looks, and the guy turns around, and it's Captain America, and he's like 80 or 90. He is freaking old, y'all, like old. And then they show that when he went back for the first time in his life, Captain America did something for himself. And he stayed, and he lived his life, and he loved his first love, Peggy Carter. It was beautiful between the two of them. They show him dancing. He finally, as the most selfless person ever, it seemed like, with this character. We love Captain America because that's who he's always been, but thank God he took a moment to live and love, and he got it. And when he returns, you know, he's sitting there talking to the, I think it's Black Hawk guy, and telling him, you know, I chose this. And he's like, the only thing that makes me sad is having a world where you're not going to be able to fight, defend us in, basically. And he's like, Yeah, well, and he brings him his shield, basically. He gives it to him, and like, you guys can use this because basically now we've lost Black Widow. We've lost Tony Stark. And Captain America is so old, he can get up and take a walk, basically, but he's not fighting anybody. So with these 4 movies, the 4 Avenger movies, we're never going to see all these actors again together as Marvel's Avengers. We're not. And this was the absolute best way to go out. I loved this movie. It is the best superhero movie I've ever seen. I would give it a 10 as far as superhero movies go. In the world of regular movies, I'd give it a 9.5. That movie was 3 hours long, and I did not feel like I sat there for 3 hours. I went through every emotion possible, and I'm sad, but I loved it. And I hope y'all get a chance to watch it. If you like my video, please hit the like button and become a subscriber, okay? Have a good Sunday. Bye-bye.